Shalom Yasharallah. First and foremost, I want to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rachaha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity. To you Israelite foreigners, come back home to the truth. To those that passed on serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai shall arise first. To you sisters who believe, keep encouraging your brothers out here teaching us truth, and always commemorate Yahweh, the sister who washed Yahweh Shai feet when you read the scriptures. I want to talk to y'all about something that's very serious, that a lot of y'all take lightly and take for granted, which is being in this truth. Let me tell y'all something. It's one thing for you to fall out of this truth, and it's a whole nother thing to lead an exodus of souls out of this truth. See, people that leave this truth, I notice, don't usually some of them tend to do better carnally when they leave this truth. Most of them seem to go down a rabbit hole, and honestly, they're like that bitch that cheated, got dumped, and then her life was never the same after it. So she found out, she realized, she should have stayed with her husband. But now it's too late. You done already cheated. You did your thing, and now. So this is the way I view. When I first came in this truth, I came to this truth through a church by the name of the Church of Israel in Newark, New Jersey. We had a school in 12 William Street. It wasn't the full knowledge, but this was before YouTube. A little bit after 9/11, I left them. Not because of 9/11. It just so happened that, I didn't really like the way things were in that school, to be honest. And, the Lord led me to Zabak at that point. But there was a brother who I had taught, and he came into this truth. Although everything is of the Lord, he came into the truth through my teachings. And he excelled. He flourished. He was great. But he always had a spirit about him that was not right. I couldn't put my finger on the reason. I have to choose my words carefully so I don't have a pause. But there was always something about him. He was always like that kid that always wanted to prove to people that he was special. So I didn't really take his ferventness, if that's a word, as serious as a lot of others. They thought he was just very committed. I just thought he was doing it for show. So eventually, I left that school in 2001, 2002. An explosion of brothers came in, especially, I guess, they must have did something at Covenant House, because a lot of homeless brothers came in, not only got into the school, but also got their lives together. A lot of men, a lot of brothers really came in, right? I mean, I could name them. I could spend a lot of time there. Like, there was a lot of brothers. So they didn't lose nothing when they lost me. All they lost was a Spanish speaker. They really gained a lot of brothers. Eventually, what happened with that school, they were flourishing, but we did a mixtape, right? It was 3 brothers that were part of that school. Shawaquad, Yawaitaza'im, Yaiquab, which is the brother that I taught, and me. And I think that I also have to mention there was a brother named Makapash and another brother named Kasaja, both of whom also were rappers, even though they weren't on that mixtape. So we did a good mixtape, it's 40 songs, and sold it and marketed it. Eventually it made its way to other Hebrew Israelite groups, some of whom did not believe what we believe. These are groups that believe in the virgin birth, nations shall be saved, fallen angels and stuff like that. So we start getting ready to make more content, make more music, put Israelite music on the map again. because Sons of Man had fallen apart by then, and we felt we had something special. And more brothers from the school, including Makapash and Kasaja. These are very important names, by the way. This story is really a story of Makapash, Kasaja, and Ya'ikwab. So eventually, Ya'ikwab starts talking about, he's still part of HYK. The Church of Israel had changed its name to the Hebrew version of the Church of Israel, which is Ha Yasharal Kanas, the Israelite calling out, or the Israelite church. So, long story short, those beliefs circled their way around the school. And they were teaching secret classes. In the school, they were teaching the truth. Not the full truth, but the version that they had. And in some public library, they were teaching secret classes, basically teaching Christianity. So eventually it was discovered that these men secretly had different beliefs and different teachings among the congregation. And so they had a council, and Ya'ikwab, Kasaja, and Makapash, among others, were kicked out. Hi, can you fill it up regular? Thank you. So they was kicked out, and they started teaching their beliefs, and their beliefs started changing. Now they believed in full, basically, Christianity, and eventually they had splits, because then Ya'ikwab started believing in Roman Catholicism and mixing it with the teachings of the Hebrew Israelites. So they had a split. A lot of people left. A lot of people said, you know what, I don't trust none of this shit. I'm going back in the world. A few people came back into the truth. Even one of them came into the full truth. I don't want to tell his business, so I'm not going to say who, but he came into the full understanding of the truth. And unfortunately, you have three key members of this Israelite rebellion, basically. They thought that they were going to take what they were taught by our elders and improve it somehow. And they took all the people that paid tithes, because those was mostly women. They took all the younger men, because that's what Satan does, go through the younger men and through the women. And I don't believe that they were doing it intentionally with malice in their heart. But they definitely were wrong. Thank you. Can I get a receipt?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. Have a handy dandy day. No, I'm just playing. No, seriously. So that school fell apart. It was called the Body of Christ Church. Me and Tazaiwan called it 10th Street, because it was really in a rough part of Newark. And I'm gonna tell you about that church. That church was on the corner of, I think, Springfield Ave and 10th Street, and a fiend broke in and stole all the copper pipes to sell them. On top of that school, they couldn't maintain the school. They all just fell apart. A lot of people went back into the world. Pretty much all of them went back into the world, except for some of them actually came back towards the truth. A brother named Yashimai and his wife Zechariah came into this truth and came back to the truth. Not the full truth, but at least a version of it, right? So, but a lot of those souls, man, they just were destroyed. I mean, you got the brother Shamwa'ala, who told me what I needed to know to stay in the truth forever. He told me one time that I'm going to see a lot of men in the truth and women do evil shit. Don't always remember that the doctrine is the doctrine and what men do is what men do. He didn't verbalize it that way, but I got what he meant. So he died in a car crash. Zachariah and Yashimaya, they were already old when they came in the truth. So, you know, they passed away, but I would say that they passed away of natural causes. Yaquab passed away. Now, this is one of the ringleaders. Three ringleaders. Yaquab, Makapash, and Kasaja. And I don't hate none of them. This video is not to berate any of them, but this video is a cautionary tale that brothers need to know how it happens. These people destroyed souls without realizing that they destroyed souls. They led a rebellion. They led practically dozens of spirits outside of this truth. They took all the people that actually were keeping the school going. The few men that stood strong in the truth, they couldn't maintain the school. So eventually the school folded and their school folded. But here's where it gets scary. I'm going to tell you how scary it is. Yaquab was a well-to-do brother. When he went back into the world, he had a wife. We all went to college together. I don't know if I introduced him to his wife, but I don't think I did, actually. But we all knew each other. I was actually his wife's English tutor in college. I mean, you know, he had a child. I used to take care of his son. You know, his wife used to work around the corner from me. She would drop him off, and then he would pick him up. You know, I just used to watch him, you know. I don't know, man. You know, but basically, Yaquab passed away. He had asthma, and he passed away around the time of COVID. I'm not going to make any assumptions that those two are related. His reason of dying and having asthma. But it points the finger in that direction. And Yaquab was into health. You know, now that being into health doesn't help you if you catch COVID and you already have asthma. To my knowledge, I don't think there's any number of herbs that you can take to survive that. You got to kind of maybe take herbs to beat asthma, and then your lungs are strong enough. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But he died young. He's younger than me. And he died about 4 or 5 years ago. Yesterday, I received a call. Makapash, who I think goes back to House of David. Makapash was one of the ones that started HYK. And I've been told that he was in hospice. Now I'm finding out that he has 2 weeks left to live. So of course I spread the news, and I also heard more information about that split and how things happened, because I wasn't even with HYK when these things happened. So the other thing, now remember that there's a third name here, Kasaja. Kasaja is a full-blown Roman Catholic. I mean, he'll argue for days about it. He believes in it. I got to tell y'all, these three men brought so many souls out of the faith. Men that could be productive going to camp, teaching the word. Women that could be somebody's husband and possibly, you know, vying for salvation. And you know, the school could have been so much more. They could have expanded. They had so many people in the school before this doctrine ravaged the school. Now, I'm going to say this. All three of these men, I believe that they genuinely believe that shit. I will say that Yaikwa was shady for the fact that he started teaching secret classes. And I have to say that if Makapash knew about it, he was shady too, but I don't know. I don't know if he knew about the secret classes. I do know that these three men have destroyed lives being careless for their own. I mean, from what I hear, it was a new doctrine every fucking month. It was a new doctrine every fucking month. So that thing fell apart. Lives were destroyed. They weren't full, like they didn't know the Sabbath is off the new moon. They didn't know the Israelite foreigners. You know, there's a lot of things they didn't know. But at least they know Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans are Israelites. I mean, there's things, like I said, they didn't know that CHIP was the MOTB. There's things they didn't know. But at least they were in the conversation of being so-called Hebrew Israelites. Now, I'm not saying that that's a minimum, you know. No, you should have the full truth, but I'll put it this way. I'll take HYK doctrine over the shit that they wound up believing afterwards. Because at least it puts me to where, okay, all I got to do is open up my mind to the scriptures a little more, and I know I'll learn about the CHIP and all that. But at that, to completely abandon the truth and go into Roman Catholicism was a game changer, and not a game changer in a positive way. So ultimately, you know, when I look at the situation, if I were Kasaja, I would be scared. That nigga's not Kasaja no more. That nigga's name is Brian. I'm not going to say his last name. You know, this isn't to bash anybody, but I would be scared shitless. Because at this point, what can he do to make it right? He has to stay Catholic. Because what if you realize, damn, I let all these souls out of the truth. And these two one of them died young with his whole fucking life ahead of him. I mean, you're not supposed to die at 30, 40 years old. Right? I'm not saying you can't. No, I'm saying that when you have a young enough body to, you know, fight disease and all that, you shouldn't be. And I'm going to tell y'all something. This is the scary part about Makapash dying or even having cancer. This is at least his second or third time having cancer. And this is the one that's beating him. The scary part is he was the health guy back at HYK. He was the one that, the first Israelite that I ever heard preaching healthy, and he didn't preach herbs, but he was kind of leaning towards it. When he fell out of the truth, he was known for selling alkaline water. Somebody that sells alkaline water and is into natural medicine should not be dying in his late 40s or early 50s. I don't know how old he is, but he's not that old. Of cancer, of all things. This goes to show you how the Most High is capable. I mean, that man must be in torment right now. I don't think he has any young children, but he has seed. One of his sons was murdered. I hear that he had a stepson that died too. You know, I know his ex-wife, because she turns out she's one of my closest friends' cousin. Like, this is an ugly situation. That man's told already. He knows that he's not alive after 2 weeks. Think about that. This was yesterday, so we're 1 week in, 1 day less. He's been given 2 weeks by doctors. Not that they're perfect, but let me tell y'all something. This is what you get when you play with the truth. Even when you're not playing, even when you think you're doing the right thing, but you lead. See, fallouts have a wide range of, I'll say, I don't want to say consequences, but they have a wide range of ends to their story. Some of them turn out to be carnally more successful than they were in the truth, but a lot of them turn into bug outs, and things happen to them. But when you lead people out of a group of souls, like, they had to have at least taken 30 people out of the school, whether it was when they started Body of Christ Ministries, or maybe they just fell out completely because they didn't want to be part of anything. What wound up happening with them was sad. But what they did was evil as fuck. The Lord is about you reap what you sow, man. These people led over 30 people, and there had to be 30 people out of that school. They had to have led at least 30 people out of that school. It's sad what happened now. I was saying that, Kasaja is happy-go-lucky. He's always been a happy-go-lucky type of brother. What can really be sad about this situation is the Lord might be saving Kasaja for those nukes. He might have had mercy on Yaquab and Makapash. I was hesitant to call them their former Hebrew names because they didn't even. Makapash calls himself Makapesh. They started speaking modern Hebrew because they were complaining about the Lashawan Kodash. But the end of the story hasn't come yet, because like I said, there's still a lot of people that are left over alive from this split. But I'll say that if I were any of them, I'd be shook as fuck right now. They should be scared, in all honesty. And especially the ringleaders. Makapash is going to quote unquote, meet his maker in 2 weeks or less. Kasaja, I don't know. I mean, he seems perfectly healthy. I don't know. I don't know what to say. All I'm going to say is this is why when you come in this truth, you got to be serious about this truth. Because it's one thing when you lead by yourself. It's a whole nother thing when you lead a whole split. A whole bunch of souls follow you. A whole lot of other souls get destroyed and go back in the world and just get fucked over by life. But when you lead souls out of this faith, the Lord does things to you, man. I've known of brothers that have passed away in this truth. What I don't know of is anybody that has had 2 or 3 battles with cancer And you're the one that's healthy. You're the one that, not healthy, but you're the one that preaches health. If that doesn't scare y'all, it scared the shit out of me because I know these niggas. And Kasaja should be scared. Because it's 3 people that were the ringleaders of this whole rebellion against the truth. And 2 of them within 2 weeks will be dead. So the one that has survived, I don't give a fuck how healthy you think you are. I would be shook for the rest of my life. I don't know what he can possibly do. If you believe in that Roman Catholicism shit, have at it. But, you know, souls were destroyed. Lives were destroyed by this doctrine. I will say that this rebellion wasn't an insincere one. This rebellion was not insincere, but it destroyed people. But with that, I'm going to say shalom.